December 21st, 2025, middle of the night. One of South Africa's most dangerous prisoners vanishes from Pretoria. Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, the businessman who allegedly bribed ministers with Woolworths bags full of cash, secretly moved to the most isolated prison in the entire country, eBongweni prison in Kokstad. Isn't just for dangerous criminals, it's where they send prisoners who are planning escapes. It's where they send prisoners who are still running criminal operations from behind bars. So what exactly did Cat Matlala do that made them move him in the middle of the night to a prison 300 kilometers away from everything? In July 2025, on a Sunday morning, the Correctional Services National Commissioner himself, Kgosi Mampuru, led a surprise raid at Kgosi Mampuru Prison. They found Cat Matlala with a mobile phone. Think about that for a second. This man is in C-Max, supposedly the most secure section of one of South Africa's toughest prisons, and he has a working phone. According to reports, officials believe he was making calls from inside the prison, not just receiving calls, making them. To who? We don't know. About what? They won't say. But prosecutors stated that the phone had contact information for a police officer. Matlala claims he got the phone from another inmate who has since been released on bail, but investigators couldn't find anyone else responsible. The official investigation pointed right back to Matlala. So either he's lying about where he got it, or someone helped him and then disappeared without leaving any evidence. Either way, this shows that even locked up in maximum security, Cat Matlala was still connected to the outside world. After they found the phone, they moved him to an even stricter section. But apparently that still wasn't enough, because 5 months later, in the middle of the night, they moved him to eBongweni. The question is, what else did they find? What else was he doing? Because you don't move someone overnight to the most isolated prison in South Africa just because of one phone. When news broke about the transfer, South Africans on social media immediately started saying the same thing. One comment that went viral said, "I smell an escape coming." And honestly, can you blame people for thinking that? Look at the pattern. eBongweni is where they send prisoners who keep trying to escape. Ananias Mathe, the famous Vaseline escape artist, got moved there after he escaped from Kgosi Mampuru. He then tried to escape from eBongweni twice. Radovan Krejcir, the Czech mafia boss, was also at Kgosi Mampuru with Matlala. Prison officials uncovered 2 separate escape plots involving Krejcir before they moved him to eBongweni as well. And now Cat Matlala follows the exact same route from Kgosi Mampuru to eBongweni, the same path that known escape plotters took before him. Back in November, when Parliament wanted Matlala to testify about corruption, they were so worried about him escaping that they held the entire hearing inside the prison. The committee chairperson, Soviet Lekanyane, specifically mentioned avoiding any possible escape from custody as one of their main concerns. The Department of Correctional Services spokesperson said Matlala's movements would be closely monitored, that they had a secret route they couldn't disclose publicly, that security protocols extended to every single moment, even when he was eating. If they were that terrified of him escaping during a testimony session inside a maximum security prison, what does that tell you about what they think he's capable of? But maybe escape isn't what they're most worried about. Maybe the real fear is that Cat Matlala is still organizing criminal operations from behind bars. Think about what we know. This man allegedly ran a criminal empire worth hundreds of millions of rand. He allegedly had ministers living rent-free in his apartments. He allegedly had enough influence to disband police task teams investigating political killings. According to Police Commissioner Dumisani Khumalo, Matlala is part of the Big Five cartel that infiltrates political structures for personal gain. That kind of power doesn't just disappear when you go to prison, not when you have connections everywhere, not when you allegedly have police officers in your phone, not when you've been paying bribes for years. Officials reportedly see Matlala as someone who could influence others or plan operations from inside prison. That's why they moved him. The phone proved he had the means to communicate. His connections proved he had the network. The question is, what was he planning? What was he coordinating? There are also whispers about who might be helping him. His security company, Cat VIP Protection, had contracts all over Gauteng. He allegedly had relationships with senior police officials. Some of those people are still in their positions, still working, still potentially able to assist him. Moving him to eBongweni cuts off all of that. In Kokstad, 300 kilometers from Pretoria, locked in a cell for 23 hours a day with zero contact with other inmates, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain those networks, nearly impossible to coordinate anything, nearly impossible to keep running operations. Unless, of course, someone on the inside at eBongweni is also on his payroll. And that's a thought that should terrify everyone. There's another angle that people aren't talking about enough. What if they moved Cat Matlala to eBongweni to protect him? When Parliament held those hearings in November, officials weren't just worried about Matlala escaping. According to reports, they feared interference from police officers he had implicated. They worried about intimidation attempts. They even worried about assassination attempts aimed at silencing him or influencing the proceedings. The security concerns were so serious that they decided holding the hearing in a public venue would expose everyone to coordinated attacks. Cat Matlala has testified against powerful people. He's named names. He talked about Woolworth's bags full of cash going to Becky Chela. He's implicated Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. He's revealed details about the 360 million rand SAPS tender scandal. He's been a central witness at the Madlanga Commission, spilling secrets about how corruption works at the highest levels. So what if someone wants him silenced permanently? What if there are people who would pay good money to make sure Cat Matlala never testifies again? At eBongweni, with its perfect security record and extreme isolation, nobody's getting to him unless the authorities allow it. It's not just a prison, it's a fortress. Since the facility opened in 2002, not a single prisoner has ever escaped. Ever. It's monitored 24/7 with CCTV, motion detectors, and heavily armed guards. The ratio is 1 guard per prisoner. If you wanted to keep someone alive and make absolutely sure nobody could get to them, eBongweni would be your choice. The Department of Correctional Services gave their official statement. They said the transfer followed standard procedures guided by security assessments, operational demands, and inmate classification requirements. That's it. That's all they'll say. When journalists asked for more details, the spokesperson said he couldn't comment further because of sensitive security considerations. But what security considerations? Security for who? Security from what? Are they worried about him escaping? Are they worried about him organizing crime? Are they worried about someone trying to kill him? Are they worried about all three? The timing makes everything more suspicious. Why move him on December 21st, right before Christmas, in the middle of the night? Why couldn't this wait until January? Why the rush? Why the secrecy? His trial is set for January 2026. He's expected back in court on January 29th. The Mampuru Commission is still ongoing. There are more revelations coming, more testimony, more names. And now Cat Matlala sits in one of the harshest prison conditions on earth, cut off from almost everything and everyone. So what's really going on? Is Cat Matlala too dangerous to be in Pretoria because he's plotting escapes, because he's still running criminal operations through corrupt officials, or because they're protecting him from powerful people who want him dead before he can say more? Maybe it's all three. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay updated on this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because something tells me we haven't heard the last of Cat Matlala. Not by a long shot.